The hotel folio is still warm when Grant slides it across the walnut table. "Your card splurge embarrassed us," he says. The three auditors stop pretending to study their laptops. I look down at the charges. 2-room private suite, premium bar package, dinner for 4, late checkout, $4,862.17. Grant taps the total with his silver pen. "You'll reimburse the company before we leave today." "At the client retreat?" I ask. "You summoned me in front of our auditors for this?" "I summoned you because your name is on the master account. My approved room was 614. 1 king, no minibar. Every receipt matched." The hotel manager, standing near the credenza with her hands folded, steps closer. "I can reopen the itemized folio." Grant's pen goes still. She turns her tablet toward us. One unexplained upgrade carries the CFO's name. Grant Keene, Presidential Suite 1201. He lunges for the printed folio. I catch it first. For 1 second, my brother and I each have a hand on the paper, and I see something in his face that has nothing to do with $4,000. "Let go, Mara," he says quietly. An orange shortage tag is stuck to the cuff of my blazer. I must have picked it up at 5 that morning when Luis and I rebuilt the St. Vincent delivery after a scanner jam. The tag trembles over the folio while Grant and I hold opposite ends. The lead auditor, Peter Walsh, clears his throat. Grant releases the paper and smooths his tie. He is good at recovering. He refinanced a laundry plant during a natural gas spike, while our bank was using words like exposure and covenant. A hotel charge should have been easy for him. "The suite was for a confidential business meeting," he says. The hotel apparently posted it incorrectly. The manager's expression barely changes. Her nameplate reads, "Eliza Wynn, Conference Services Manager." The suite was originally posted to Mr. Keene's guest account. It was transferred to the group master yesterday afternoon. "By whom?" I ask. "We should handle that privately," Grant says. "You made it public." His mouth tightens. I addressed an apparent control failure in front of the people reviewing our controls. Peter glances at the other auditors. One studies her legal pad with intense devotion. The youngest has gone pink around the ears. I turn to Eliza. "Who requested the transfer?" "I need to check the authorization history." "Don't." Grant's voice lands harder than he intends. He softens it. "Please. Our account is already being reviewed. There's no reason to drag hotel staff into an internal matter." Eliza looks at him, then at me. "Your group agreement requires written authorization for transfers between individual guest accounts and the master." I remember that clause. I put it there after a sales vice president charged a couples massage to a hospital linen summit in Milwaukee and called it relationship maintenance. "Please check," I say. Grant takes his phone from the table. "Peter, could you give us the room?" Peter closes his laptop but doesn't stand. "If the expense was included in the sample you provided us, I'd prefer to see the support." "It wasn't included." "It's the first item in the sample," I say. Grant looks at me. There is the brother I know in that look, buried under the CFO, the one who used to silently move the last dinner roll onto my plate, then tell everyone I stole it. "Your card ending in 4408 guaranteed the event," he says. "That is what appeared in the preliminary hotel statement. I acted on the information available. You had enough information to demand repayment." Mara. Eliza taps through 2 screens. The transfer was requested at 4:17 yesterday afternoon. She stops. Grant lays his phone face down. "Requested by the registered guest," she continues. "The electronic authorization carries Mr. Keene's signature. The quiet that follows is not dramatic. Air pushes through a ceiling vent. Someone's coffee machine hisses in the hallway. Peter rolls his pen between his fingers once, then sets it down. I slide the folio into the leather folder I brought for route reports. Grant reaches for it again, but this time he catches himself. "That document is company property. So is the money you told me to repay." The suite supported a meeting concerning the financial future of Keene Linen. Its contents are privileged. Lenders eat 4 lobster rolls and drink a $180 bottle of bourbon now? Peter looks up. Grant's eyes flick to the room service detail. He hadn't realized it was attached. That is the second thing he didn't know was on the folio. He turns to Eliza. Ms. Wynne, I think we're finished. I'll send a corrected copy to the billing contacts, she says. There's no need. There is, if the master account is disputed. I almost like her. Grant opens the conference room door. Beyond it, 40 of our largest clients are drifting toward the ballroom for a panel called The Future of Hygienic Textiles. 2 sales managers hover by a coffee station, trying not to look toward us. Grant gives them his public smile. 10-minute break, he tells the auditors. Mara, stay. Peter and his team file out. Eliza pauses beside me. I'll need the original folio, Grant says. Eliza answers before I can. The original is maintained in our system. He smiles at her without warmth. Of course. When the door closes, he walks to the window. 12 floors below, the hotel's loading dock is blocked by one of our white linen trucks. Luis is probably charming a security guard while his driver unloads the napkins we were shorted overnight. Grant looks down at the truck, too. Why were you at the plant at 5? Because St. Vincent was missing 12 surgical packs. You're director of route operations. You have supervisors. The night supervisor found the scanner problem. Luis rebuilt the count. I approved an extra truck. With the card I froze 30 minutes ago. I stare at his back. You froze my card before you showed me the folio? I placed a temporary hold after accounting flagged the charge. You knew the suite was yours. I knew I held a meeting in it. I did not know the hotel had assigned the expense to your guarantee card. You signed the transfer. He turns. You are confusing account transfer with card settlement. That distinction sounded better in your head. His face goes flat. Grant rarely raises his voice. He likes making other people feel loud. You've been treating your expense account like a field repair kit, he says. Fuel, tolls, meals, parts from vendors we haven't approved. Half your receipts arrive after close. Tessa spends days chasing your paperwork. Tessa gets every receipt. Eventually. Are we talking about my paperwork or your suite? We are talking about controls. The suite was a legitimate business expense. Your habits made it possible for the hotel to attach it to a card no one should be using as a catch-all. I laugh once, because the logic has a craftsmanship to it. Grant looks toward the door. Keep your voice down. There it is. What? You only care about volume after you've said your part. A flicker crosses his face. Annoyance, then something closer to regret. I should not have raised it in front of the full audit team. You called me in there. The hotel statement had your card number. It had your name. I didn't see the itemized copy. You transferred it. For allocation to the retreat. Then why demand that I repay it? His jaw shifts. He has no clean answer ready, which means the real one matters. My phone buzzes. Luis. Dock cleared. Street V truck rolling. Also, your brother looks tiny from down here. I put the phone away without replying. Grant notices. Another emergency? One that's handled. Good. Go attend the sanitation panel. We'll revisit this when we're home. Who was in the suite? Financial partners. Which partners? I can't discuss that. I oversee the operation they're apparently discussing over lobster rolls. And I oversee finance. Our last lender meeting was in Conference B with turkey wraps. This wasn't a lender meeting. There it is, small and clean. Grant realizes he has said it. He picks up his silver pen and clips it inside his jacket. Go to the panel, Mara. I take the orange shortage tag from my cuff. Its string has knotted around one of the buttons. At the plant, orange means a cart cannot leave until somebody explains what's missing, who counted it, and where the balance went. I loop the string through the leather folder's zipper. Where was this transferred from? I ask. Grant's gaze settles on the tag. Our mother designed those tags when handwritten load sheets still came in triplicate. He knows exactly what I mean. You're being theatrical. You taught me to follow allocations. I taught you to understand them. He opens the door and waits. As I pass him, he says, "Don't make me choose between protecting you and protecting the company." I stop close enough to smell the peppermint he keeps in his desk and carries into difficult meetings. You made that choice before breakfast. The ballroom is cold enough to preserve meat. I sit in the back while a hospital procurement director discusses microfiber loss rates. On stage, our vice president of sales nods, gravely beside a slide showing a smiling nurse holding folded sheets no working nurse would ever fold that way. Luis drops into the empty chair beside me. He still wears his navy route jacket. A crescent of white lint clings to his shoulder. "You look like you bit an extension cord," he whispers. "I'm fine." "That's disappointing. I drove over here hoping for a scene. You missed it." His humor disappears when he sees the folder on my lap. "What happened?" "Grant accused me of charging a private suite to the company." "Did you?" "Yes, Luis. I threw a 4-person lobster party, then went to the plant at dawn for surgical packs." "You contain multitudes." The woman in front of us turns around. Luis mouths sorry. I open the folder just enough to see the curling edge of the folio. The suite was Grant's. Luis leans back slowly. He says it was business. Business usually has names. He won't give me any. On stage, the moderator asks how regional operators can survive consolidation. Our sales vice president answers that scale is not the only measure of resilience. The line earns polite nods from clients who have spent all year squeezing our prices. Luis looks toward the stage. "He frees your card?" I turn to him. "How do you know?" The fuel desk called. "Your authorization got declined on the St. Vincent truck. I used mine." Heat rises under my collar. "That run was approved." "I know." "Send me the fuel receipt." "Tessa already asked for it." That catches me. "When?" "5 minutes ago." Across the aisle, Tessa Bell sits with the auditors. She is taking notes, her dark hair twisted through a pencil because she lost the clip she normally uses. She feels me looking and lifts her eyes. Tessa does not smile. She touches one finger to the corner of her notebook, then closes it. A warning, maybe, or an invitation. When the panel ends, clients gather around the coffee urns and begin performing concern about linen loss. Grant appears near the stage, laughing with the chief operating officer of North Star Textile Services. North Star owns 17 plants in 6 states. 2 years ago, it bought a family laundry outside Columbus and closed the older facility before the new uniforms had arrived. Grant spots me watching. For half a second, neither of us moves. Then he puts a hand on the North Star executive's shoulder and steers him toward a side exit. Luis follows my gaze. "Financial partner?" "Maybe." "You want me to see where they go?" "No." You hesitated. I considered it, then remembered you have all the subtlety of a forklift alarm. That hurts because it's accurate. My mother calls as I'm walking toward the service elevator. "Mara, honey, Grant told me there was a misunderstanding." Of course he did. Lydia Keene can ignore 3 voicemails about a boiler seal, but conflict between her children travels faster than steam. He accused me of overspending in front of the auditors. He says he acted too quickly. He demanded I repay his suite. A pause. I hear silverware and low conversation behind her. She's already at lunch with the hospital executives, repairing whatever version of the morning Grant gave her. "Could you cover it temporarily?" she asks. "Just until accounting sorts everything out." The elevator opens on a hotel employee pushing a cart of folded white tablecloths. I step aside to let him pass. "Mom, it would calm the auditors. Optics matter right now." Then Grant should repay it. He says it was a company meeting. Then why should I? "Mara, I am trying to keep this from becoming personal." It became personal when my brother called me a thief. He did not use that word. He gave me a total and a deadline. She lowers her voice. "This company cannot survive the 2 of you tearing at each other." The employee wheels the tablecloths away. On the bottom shelf, one bundle wears an orange shortage tag from our plant. I watch it disappear around the corner. I'm not repaying 1 cent, I say. My mother goes quiet. That silence costs more than the suite. All right, she says finally, then bring every receipt you have to accounting on Monday. The call ends. Inside the service elevator, I open the leather folder and read the folio again. Presidential Suite 1201, dinner for 4, bourbon, coffee service at 6:30 the next morning, audio-visual connection fee, 4 wireless access codes. At the bottom of the second page is a line Grant apparently missed. Custom event name, Project Clearwater. I have seen that name once before, printed upside down on a packet beside his laptop when he closed it too quickly. I tie the orange tag through the folio's corner and write on it with the pen from my badge. Transferred from where? Then I add a second question. Transferred to whom? The elevator doors open on 12, but I stay inside until they start to close again. A hand catches the rubber edge. Eliza Wynne steps in, carrying a narrow hotel binder. You left before I could give you this. The elevator opens fully. Behind her, the carpeted hallway curves toward the suites. Room 1201 is out of sight. What is it? Your billing amendment. Her professional voice is back, but she keeps one hand on the door so the elevator cannot move. It confirms the transfer request. The final corrected statement will go to all billing contacts. All? You, Mr. Keene, and Ms. Bell. Grant will hate that. Eliza gives me a folded page. His electronic signature sits beneath a request to move the suite onto the retreat master. The box labeled Business Purpose contains 2 words, Executive Planning. Project Clearwater? I ask. Her eyes flick to my folder. It's on the folio. Then you already have everything I'm permitted to provide. Was that the name on the audiovisual order? She considers me for a moment. The event order is part of the suite account. Your auditors can request it through the normal process. That is not a yes, but it is shaped like one. Did Grant ask you to move it to my cost center? I don't have your internal cost centers. Right. The elevator chimes impatiently. Eliza steps back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened during your retreat. I'm starting to think the timing was the point. She glances toward 1201. Mr. Keene asked for the preliminary statement at 6:15 this morning, 20 minutes before he called me into the conference room. Thank you, I say. She releases the door. Keep the amendment with the itemized copy. I will. I tuck it behind the orange-tagged folio where Grant cannot separate one from the other without leaving a crease. On Monday morning, 3 bankers' boxes wait outside my office. Finance Review is printed across each lid. People slow down when they pass. They pretend to check the production board, which hangs opposite my door and has displayed the same weekend fill rates since 7:30. Luis arrives carrying 2 coffees and looks at the boxes. Congratulations, he says. It's triplets. Don't touch them. They may be evidence of joy. He gives me the coffee with no sugar. Tessa's in Conference C. Grant's assistant said to bring your receipts, your laptop, and your sunny disposition. My sunny disposition is out of policy. Use mine. Nobody's audited it. Inside the first box are 12 months of expense reports. Someone has added pink flags beside every late receipt. There are enough flags to make the pages look feathered. This is where Grant is strongest. He doesn't need to fabricate my weakness. He only needs to arrange it under fluorescent lights. I take the boxes to Conference C. Tessa sits on one side of the table with her hair clipped neatly today. Peter Walsh is on the other. Grant stands at the screen displaying a spreadsheet titled Operating Expense Exceptions. Mom is at the far end with a yellow legal pad. That hurts in a new place. Good, Grant says. We can begin. I set the boxes down. Should I have brought my own lunch, or will that become an exception? Mom closes her eyes briefly. Tessa's mouth twitches, but Grant doesn't reward me. We're reviewing purchasing behavior across operations, he says. This is not a disciplinary meeting. Then why is the chair here? I asked her to observe. Mom touches her pen to the pad. I wanted to be here. Peter looks as thrilled as a man trapped on an elevator between floors. Grant advances to a summary showing $78,410 in unsupported or late supported purchases under my employee ID. I stare at the total. Unsupported and late supported aren't the same thing. They represent the same control risk. No, one means we don't know what I bought. The other means Tessa got the receipt after your arbitrary close date. Our close date is not arbitrary. The expenses aren't unsupported. Tessa speaks before Grant can. $59,000 has complete support. It was submitted between 1 and 19 days late. Grant turns toward her, which is why the category includes late supported. And the remaining 19? I ask. Some items may be transfers, she says. From where? Grant clicks to the next slide. We'll determine that through review. On the screen, my fuel purchases sit beside meals, tolls, emergency parts, temporary route labor, and the hotel suite. Grant has stripped away the business explanations, leaving dates and amounts. A stranger could look at it and see appetite instead of work. I pull the St. Vincent fuel receipt from my folder. Saturday's fuel charge was declined because you froze my card before speaking to me. Luis covered it. Which column will his punishment go in? Enough, Mom says. It is quiet, but it works. It has always worked. I sit back. Mom looks at Grant. Remove the hotel charge. It remains under review. We have the authorization, I say. Grant's gaze drops to the orange tag hanging from the folder. Peter shifts his laptop around. For audit purposes, we should trace both the original posting and the company ledger entry. Tessa reaches for the folder. May I? I give it to her. She reads the itemized folio, then the billing amendment. When she reaches the electronic signature, her thumb stops. Grant, you approved this transfer. To the retreat master. And then it hit route recovery, she says. The room stills. What's route recovery? Mom asks. My emergency cost center, I say. Fuel for replacement trucks. Outsourced washing when a machine is down. Overnight labor. Tessa turns the amendment toward Grant. There's nothing here authorizing that allocation. Accounting mapped the master charges according to the preliminary event coding. I didn't. He looks at her. I didn't say you did. I'm accounting. Peter lowers his eyes to his screen, but I can hear his keys moving. Grant turns off the projector. We're drifting away from the purpose of this review. No, I say. I think we just found it. He places the remote carefully on the table. Your card privileges will remain suspended. All operational purchases above $500 will require my approval. Tessa will complete the trace. What happens when a truck blows a tire at 2 a.m? The supervisor calls the approved fleet vendor, and if they can't respond, they call the secondary. And when the secondary is in Akron, like last Thursday, Grant picks up his pen. Then they wait. For 6 hours? D, for authorization. I look at Mom. She writes something on her legal pad. You spent 30 years telling us linen can't wait, I say to her. She caps her pen. Then build a procedure that doesn't depend on one person's card. She is right, which makes it worse. I'll build it, I say, but I'm not accepting responsibility for charges moved into my department. No one asked you to, Grant says. You asked for a check at the hotel. His face barely changes. That request is withdrawn. A micro payoff, need feel restrained. Continue. Peter asks for the room after the meeting. Grant objects, then leaves with Mom. Tessa tells entry made by user may be GL admin attributed to GKEENE, but can't fully reveal yet. She asks Mara to bring support, then plant scene. Let's keep within total. We've written perhaps 1150. Need another 1150? Continue. The meeting breaks without anyone naming what happened. Mom leaves beside Grant. Not with me. Peter waits until the door closes. Could I get a copy of the hotel amendment? You can request it from me, Tessa says. He looks at her. I just did. I'll upload it to the audit portal. There is a small stiffness between them that tells me they have already disagreed about this account. Peter gathers his laptop. I'll also need the detailed general ledger for root recovery. Grant's spreadsheet remains frozen on the dark screen behind him like a ghost chart. When Peter is gone, Tessa locks the door. "You save receipts like a raccoon," she says. "I put them in labeled envelopes." You put a receipt for diesel exhaust fluid in an envelope labeled March to May, probably. It was purchased between March and May. Last year. I pull out a chair. "Are you helping me or insulting me?" "Both. Sit down." She opens a ledger report on her laptop. Route Recovery 6105 fills the screen. Most entries are familiar: fuel, emergency rentals, weekend wash agreements with 2 independent laundries. Several are not. "Hotel suite," I say. "Temporary labor in February. Boiler service." Tessa nods. The boiler service was capital maintenance. It started there. It moved after close. Who moved it? I'm finding out. You can see the user. I can see the batch owner. That isn't always the person who directed it. Whose batch? She gives me a long look. Tessa. Grant's administrative batch. The pressure in my chest eases for one dangerous second. Proof can feel like safety before you understand its limits. He moved it. I said it's his batch. Grant has 2 finance managers who can post through his approval queue, and I'm not accusing either one without the backup. Why would boiler service go to root recovery? To make plant maintenance look better or root operations look worse? Or because someone picked the wrong number from a drop-down? We verify before we decide. She scrolls. Bring me everything. Fuel slips, RFID exception reports, vendor emails, doc logs. Don't clean it up. I wasn't planning to. You're already planning to. You'll make a binder with tabs and pretend you've always been this way. I like tabs. You mocked my tabs at Christmas. You brought a tabbed itinerary to Christmas. We saw 3 houses in 2 days. I almost smile. Tessa is our cousin through Mom's side, though at work she has spent 6 years acting as if our shared grandmother never forced both of us to eat the same terrible gelatin salad. Her expression softens. "Mara, don't talk to North Star." "I haven't. Don't ask Grant about Clearwater again." "Why?" "Because he restricted access to the strategic folder at 8:12 this morning. He knows you saw the name." "What's in it?" "I no longer have access." The lock turns behind us. Grant stands in the doorway. His hand is still on the key. Tessa closes the ledger window. "I need Mara at the plant," he says. The Mercy contract team moved their inspection to tomorrow. They were scheduled for next week. They had a cancellation. Mercy doesn't have cancellations. Mercy has ambushes. Then I suggest you prepare. He holds the door for me. As I pass, he adds, "And Mara, purchasing limits apply to Luis as well." By noon, the east plant smells like steam, bleach, and hot metal. The tunnel washer beats through its cycles behind the wall, a low mechanical pulse I feel in my teeth. Luis stands at the production board, moving blue magnets from hold to release. "He froze mine?" he asks. "Anything above 500. $499 buys a very intimate relationship with a tow driver. Don't play games. I never play games with tow drivers. I hand him a list. I need 12 months of fuel slips, emergency routes, scanner exceptions, and outside wash tickets. He reads it. This about the suite? It's about what else landed in root recovery. His eyebrows lift. Quietly, I say. You keep saying that to the wrong man. A buzzer sounds over line 2. The conveyor stops. A cart packed with folded isolation gowns sits under the scanner arch, its display flashing count mismatch. Luis reaches for an orange tag. Wait. I step closer and count the bundles against the RFID screen. 49 physical, 50 scanned. 1 bad tag, he says, or 1 gown inside another bundle. We open them until a second RFID chip appears folded into the hem of a rejected gown. Luis peels it out with a pocket knife, rescans the cart, and the display turns green. He leaves the orange tag hanging on its hook. Procedure that doesn't depend on one person, he says. Don't get philosophical near machinery. My phone rings from an internal extension. Dispatch. The approved fleet vendor has declined a tire call on Route 9. The secondary can arrive in 5 hours. The truck is parked behind a restaurant group's loading dock with 90 bags of used kitchen linen warming in the July heat. Call Decker Tire, I say. Not approved anymore, the dispatcher tells me. Finance removed them Friday. Decker is local, fast, and $12 more expensive per service call. Put Grant on the approval request. We did. His assistant says he's in a confidential meeting. Luis watches my face. I could call Decker and put it on my personal card. That is what everyone expects. The invisible fix, followed by a late receipt and another speech about controls. Move the clean deliveries to Route 6, I say. Have 9's driver stay with the soiled load. Tell the restaurant their pickup will be late and document the reason. They'll fine us. I know. When I hang up, Luis studies me. You're letting it sit. I'm following the procedure. That's going to smell like a dead swamp by 3. Document that too. At 4:20, Grant calls the plant office. Why did the Breckman pickup miss its window? Our approved vendor declined. Your secondary couldn't respond. You have emergency authority. You suspended it. For purchases above 500. The call was 7:40. A silence. You could have escalated. Dispatch sent the request to your office at 12:14. You could have called me. You were in a confidential meeting. He breathes out through his nose. Send Decker now. I need written authorization. Mara controls. The email arrives 40 seconds later. Luis reads it over my shoulder. Frame that. Send Decker. The restaurant fine costs us $600. Decker costs $740. Grant's new control saves nothing and creates a client complaint Tessa has to record. It also gives us a timestamp. At 6, Luis brings me the first stack of fuel slips. On top is a temporary labor invoice from February, stamped to the East Plant Maintenance Department. In blue ink, someone has crossed out the cost center and written 6105. The handwriting is not Grant's. I know whose it is because the same narrow sixes appear on every Christmas card my mother sends. Luis sees my face. What? I turn the invoice over as if the back might offer a kinder explanation. At the bottom, beneath the allocation change, Lydia Keene has written one word, approved. I call Mom from the plant office with the invoice in front of me. She answers on the 4th ring. I'm about to go into dinner. Did you approve moving temporary labor from plant maintenance into root recovery? What? February 18th, East Plant, $42,000. Paper rustles on her end. Her voice changes, losing its social brightness. Where did you get that? The invoice was in our root files. Then it belongs there. It has the original maintenance stamp. Mara, I don't have the ledger in front of me. You wrote approved under the change. I approved dozens of adjustments. Do you read them? Silence. A restaurant voice asks if she would prefer sparkling or still. Mom says still, then tells someone she needs a minute. Grant explained that the labor supported continuity of service during the boiler work. She says, continuity is an operational expense. The people on that invoice repaired steam valves. They never touched a root. The bank was concerned about maintenance overruns. So you moved the overrun into my department. We allocated it to the department that benefited. Every department benefits when the boiler works. That's what a boiler is. Her patience thins. The expense did not disappear. It disappeared from Grant's sale model. She goes quiet again. I can picture her sitting at a white tablecloth with her glasses low on her nose, one finger pressed to the place between her eyebrows. For years, that gesture made me stop talking. It meant I was adding weight to a woman already carrying too much. It works for half a second. Did you know about North Star? I ask. I know Grant has spoken with several strategic partners. In a private suite? He needs space to do his job. He put the suite in root recovery, too. That was a hotel error. No, he signed the transfer. I am not discussing this while you're angry. Then tell me when I'm allowed to be angry. She lowers her voice. Your brother is trying to keep 400 people employed. So am I. Then stop forcing me to choose which of you is telling the truth. The line goes dead. I sit with the invoice until the office lights shut off automatically. Through the interior window, Lean-To runs its final load. White sheets rise and fall inside the folder like breath. Luis knocks on the glass. I wave him in. He puts a paper bag on my desk. Turkey sandwich. The vending machine has started charging luxury prices for crackers. I'm not hungry. Great, more sandwich for tomorrow's raccoons. He notices the phone in my hand. Lydia? She approved it. Luis lowers himself into the other chair. Did she know what it was? She knew enough to sign. That isn't what I asked. I slide the invoice into the folder behind the hotel amendment. She thinks Grant is saving the company. Maybe he thinks that too. I look at him. Luis shrugs. Bad ideas get harder to kill when they think they're heroes. The Mercy inspection begins at 7:15 the next morning. Their contract manager, Vivian Holt, arrives with 2 infection prevention specialists and a clipboard thick enough to stun a horse. Grant joins us in a clean navy suit that has never been within 50 feet of a soil sort line. Vivian points to the orange tags hanging beside the scanner arch. What happens when a cart fails count? It gets tagged and quarantined, I say. A second person verifies the physical bundles against RFID. It doesn't move until the mismatch is resolved. Grant smiles. Mara designed the current escalation procedure. Compliments from him now feel like someone checking the sharpness of a knife. Vivian follows a cart toward the clean dock. And emergency purchasing? Grant answers before I can. We've strengthened authorization controls. Did those controls cause the Breckman delay yesterday? His step falters. Clients talk to each other. They especially talk when used. Restaurant linen sits behind a loading dock in July. We had a vendor response issue, he says. I hand Vivian the incident sheet. Our primary declined at 12:06. Finance approved the local vendor at 4:21. We're adding automatic secondary authority after 30 minutes. Grant looks at me. That procedure hasn't been approved. It's my corrective action recommendation. The timeline is attached. Vivian reads it. 4 hours to authorize a tire? The revised control was new, Grant says. There was some confusion. No confusion, I say. The request waited in finance. Luis coughs into his fist. It sounds suspiciously like forklift alarm. Vivian keeps the incident sheet. Send me the finalized corrective action by Friday. We will, I say. After the inspection, Grant waits until the Mercy team leaves. You enjoyed that, he says. No, I enjoyed St. Vincent getting 12 surgical packs. Yesterday was expensive and embarrassing. You made it both. I followed your procedure. You knew it would fail. I told you it would fail in Conference C. He takes off his suit jacket and drapes it over a chair. Without it, he looks less imposing and more tired. His shirt is damp between the shoulders from the plant heat. North Star can replace both tunnel washers in the first year, he says. The abrupt honesty stops me. They can consolidate purchasing, lower chemical costs, and refinance our debt at half our rate. We cannot compete with that. They closed Columbus. They had 2 plants 30 miles apart. They closed the Union one. It was older. Ours is older. He rubs a spot on his cuff where a drop of water landed. East plant would likely close. There it is. He says it quietly like a diagnosis. How many jobs? Some production would move west. Routes would remain local. How many? 120 to 150 positions over 18 months. The tunnel washer turns behind the wall. You let Mom tell me you were protecting 400 jobs. I am protecting the viable part of the company. And your success fee? His eyes sharpen. What success fee? I didn't say there was one. You just did. I asked. He puts his jacket back on. You have 2 choices. You can help shape the transition and protect the people most likely to stay, or you can make yourself the center of a fight you cannot win. That sounds like more than 2 choices. I can offer you 18 months' salary, benefits, and mutual non-disparagement. In exchange for what? Your resignation. a standard release, and a statement acknowledging that recent expense control concerns resulted from inconsistent procedures in operations. I laugh because otherwise I might throw his jacket into the washer. You want me to sign your explanation? I want to give you a dignified exit. You used my name to manufacture an undignified one. His face hardens, but his voice stays low. The company needs capital. Mom knows it. The lender knows it. You know it. Yet every time I reduce a cost, you invent an exception. You buy the faster tire. You keep the smaller vendor. You authorize overtime because a hospital manager calls you directly. You confuse being needed with being right. The words land because there is truth inside them. I have built a career out of being the person who answers. I know which truck has a weak liftgate, which client locks its south dock after 6, which independent wash house will take an emergency load without a contract, because I once sent them a mechanic on Thanksgiving. Too much lives in my head, and in favors, no spreadsheet can price. I'll give you an answer tomorrow, I say. Hope flashes across his face. About the procedure, I add. The severance answer is no. Tessa calls me into her office that afternoon. Her blinds are closed, and Peter Walsh is sitting in the guest chair with a hotel event order on his lap. The audit team received this directly from the hotel, Tessa says. Peter hands it to me. Project Clearwater Executive Planning Dinner. Grant Keene, Daniel Mercer, North Star's Chief Operating Officer. Serena Rourke, their Integration Director. Alan Pike, an advisor from the firm valuing our equipment. The audio-visual log shows a laptop connected at 6:41 the following morning. Coffee service entered at 6:30. The session ended at 7:22. Grant summoned me before the auditors at 7:35. What was presented? I ask. Peter turns his laptop around. A preliminary integration model was uploaded to the audit portal as support for management's impairment assumptions. It has a creation timestamp of 6:52 that morning. He opens the document, East plant closure, 147 positions removed, equipment auction proceeds, root margins adjusted for normalized discretionary spending. My cost center is highlighted in red. He showed them this before accusing me, I say. Peter folds his hands. We are not making conclusions about intent. We're testing the numbers. Test the boiler service. We are. Tessa opens another file. There are 6 post-close allocations into root recovery: temporary labor, boiler work, outsourced washing, retreat charges. Together, they make your margin look 4.8% worse. Who posted them? 3 people, all under Grant's approval queue. Lydia approved 2. The sentence sits heavily between us. Can the company survive without North Star? I ask. Tessa does not answer quickly. That is how I know the answer matters. Not on the current equipment schedule, she says. 1 tunnel washer fails, we violate the bank's coverage ratio within 2 quarters, maybe 1. Peter closes his laptop. I should not be present for strategic planning. You should probably not be present for any of this, I say. I've had that thought. After he leaves, Tessa pulls out a clean legal pad. We need a plan that isn't nostalgia, she says. No speeches about Mom's first 3 washers. No pretending East Plant can run forever. Minority capital? Possibly. Staged replacement. Better contract pricing. Fewer exceptions. That last part sounded personal. It was. I take Luis's pile of fuel slips from my folder. We can quantify the exceptions, what they prevented, what delay would have cost, which ones should become standing authority. And you need the plant managers. Grant will tell them they're risking their jobs. They already are. For 3 nights, we work in Tessa's office after finance clears out. Luis reconstructs emergency runs from RFID scans and dock times. The West plant manager prices a phased washer replacement with the equipment vendor instead of buying both at once. Vivian Holt gives us permission to model a longer hospital contract if service guarantees improve. She promises nothing else. I cancel Sunday dinner with Mom. She sends one message: I wish you would stop punishing me. I type 6 replies and delete all of them. On Monday, Tessa finds a draft transaction schedule embedded in the Clearwater valuation packet. Grant's projected compensation appears in a footnote under management retention. A closing bonus based on the sale price, plus 18 months as integration advisor. Not illegal, not even unusual, not disclosed to Mom. Before we can decide how to use it, Grant appears in Tessa's doorway holding a printed copy of our phased equipment model. "I asked you not to make me choose," he says to me. Tessa stands. "This is my analysis, too." He barely looks at her. "The lender meeting is Thursday at 9. North Star will present its final terms." I take the model from his hand. He has marked 3 assumptions in red, and he is right about 2 of them. "Good," I say. "We'll present ours." "You aren't invited." Mom's voice comes from the hallway. She is now. She steps into the office with her yellow legal pad pressed against her chest. She looks at me, then at the orange-tagged folder on Tessa's desk. "Both plans," she says, every number underneath them. Thursday. Grant's face empties. Mom turns to him. "And bring the agreement that pays you to sell my company." Grant looks at Mom as if she has spoken in a language he understands but never expected to hear from her. "The compensation schedule is standard," he says. "Then you won't mind showing it to me." It was preliminary. So was the sale, according to you. Tessa quietly closes her laptop. Grant turns on her. "You went through restricted files. It was embedded in valuation support uploaded for the auditors. You had no reason to open the retention schedule. I'm the controller. Compensation is a reason." Mom holds up one hand. "Enough." Grant's expression changes. He is still angry, but now he is calculating distance, how far each person has moved from the place where he left us. "The fee aligns management with shareholder value," he says. "I'm the shareholder," Mom says. "You might have tried aligning me." He glances at me. This is exactly why the negotiations were confidential. Mara sees one hotel charge, builds a conspiracy around it, and now we're jeopardizing the only viable offer. "The hotel charge was in my cost center," I say, "a clerical allocation, along with boiler repairs and temporary maintenance labor. We can debate allocations for weeks. It doesn't change the debt." "No," Tessa says. "It changes the numbers you use to sell the cure." Grant stares at her, wounded in a way he never was when I challenged him. Tessa is finance. She is supposed to value the clean answer. Mom moves toward the door. "Thursday at 9. North Star won't participate in an ambush," Grant says. "Then tell them we're reviewing both options. That is what a chair is supposed to do." After she leaves, he gathers the pages of our model from Tessa's desk. "You're assuming Vivian gives us 5 years," he says to me. "She won't. She might give us 3. Your phased lease rate is understated." "By how much?" 11% unless the vendor suddenly developed a charitable mission. He taps the second red mark. "And you're counting the West Plant's night shift at full productivity. They haven't hit that rate once." Tessa looks between us. "Are you helping?" I don't want her walking into a lender meeting with fantasy numbers. He drops the model on the desk and leaves. The door closes. I look at his red marks. He's right about the lease. I know. "You let me show him this." I wanted to know what he'd attack. That is a deeply unpleasant way to collaborate. Useful, though. We stay until after midnight rebuilding the plan with the higher lease rate and West Plant's actual output. The correction opens a $700,000 gap. We close part of it by cutting my emergency spend authority from unlimited to $25,000 per incident, with automatic review the next business day. We standardize vendor exceptions, raise prices on 3 contracts we have been undercharging for years, and remove a supervisor position that has remained vacant for 6 months. The rest hurts. East Plant loses its weekend hospitality linen shift. 28 open or temporary positions disappear from the model. Overtime drops. My bonus goes to 0 for 2 years. Lydia's shareholder distributions stop entirely. Luis reads that page at 1 in the morning. You know the root teams are going to hate the overtime cap. I know. And Breckman may walk when we raise them. I know. He scratches his jaw. Still better than losing the plant. Better isn't painless. No, that's why it's usually available. Mom comes in while Tessa is on a call with the equipment vendor. She carries 2 cups of vending machine coffee and places one beside me. "It's terrible," she says. "I thought honesty was appropriate. I keep working." She sits across from me. For once, she has no legal pad. "I approve those 2 reallocations because Grant said the bank would treat the boiler overrun as evidence we couldn't manage the replacement schedule," she says. "He said the costs could be normalized later." "You knew they were going into operations." "I knew they were moving." "Into my department." "Yes." I set down my pencil. "I thought it was presentation," she says. "The same money, different column." "You taught us columns were promises." Her face contracts slightly. She used to say that at the kitchen table when Grant and I helped sort invoices. "Every column is a promise about where the money went." I had forgotten the sentence until I needed it. "I wanted him to be right," she says. "Because he's better with numbers?" "Because if he was right, there was one solution. Sell, pay the debt, save what we could. If you were right, then I had to choose what to risk." "You asked me to repay his suite." "I know." "For optics." "I know." I wait for more. She seems to expect the 2 words to do work they cannot do alone. "I'm not going back to being the person who fixes everything before anyone has to see it," I say. "What does that mean?" "It means written authority, written responsibility. If I'm accountable for an operation, I get the information and power to run it. If you want me as an employee, you don't ask me to absorb family damage. If you want me as your daughter, don't call only when Grant needs peace." Her eyes shine, but she doesn't look away. "I don't know how to repair this," she says. "Start by not moving the cost." Tessa returns and announces the vendor will hold a revised lease quote until Friday. Mom nods, takes her terrible coffee, and goes home. Thursday's meeting is held in the bank's 2nd-floor conference room. The windows overlook a parking garage. A framed photograph of a covered bridge hangs behind the lender's chair, the sort of picture selected to offend no one. North Star brings Daniel Mercer and Serena Rourke. Alan Pike, the equipment advisor from the suite, joins by video. Peter attends as auditor. Tessa sits beside me with the orange-tagged folder between us. Charlotte Ames, our bank's commercial lending director, opens the meeting. "We have 2 questions," she says. "What is this company worth under reliable assumptions, and how does it meet its obligations over the next 24 months? Grant presents first. He is very good. He doesn't oversell North Star. He explains purchasing scale, plant redundancy, equipment investment, and the brutal arithmetic of keeping 2 aging facilities alive. When Daniel describes the East plant closure, Grant uses the phrase production consolidation. When Charlotte asks about layoffs, he gives the real number: 147 positions over 18 months. Mom's pen stops. Grant continues. He shows the debt paid at closing, vendor accounts protected, and root service preserved. If I had not seen the columns underneath, I might believe his plan was the only adult one in the room. Daniel slides the offer toward Mom. Charlotte looks at Peter. "Are the operating assumptions supported?" Peter folds his hands. "We found material classification issues affecting route operations and plant maintenance. Management has proposed corrections." "Material?" Daniel asks. 4.8% of route margin. Serena turns to Grant. "That wasn't in the updated data room." "It's under review," he says. Tessa opens the orange-tagged folder. Grant watches the tag slide across the table. She distributes a 1-page timeline. The disputed allocations were approved after monthly close. The hotel suite was transferred to the retreat master at 4:17 Friday afternoon. Its journal batch posted to Root Recovery at 5:58 Saturday morning. The Clearwater integration model pulled ledger data at 6:46 and was created at 6:52. Charlotte reads the page twice. Tessa places the hotel event order beside it. Coffee service entered the suite at 6:30. The model was presented there before the client retreat resumed. Daniel's face has gone still. That timing doesn't establish who changed the ledger. "No," I say. "The approval queue does." Grant leans forward. 3 finance employees use that cue. No one directed them to misstate expenses. Peter speaks carefully. We asked each employee for supporting instructions. 2 produced emails from Mr. Keene. The 3rd adjustment was automated from the retreat coding template. Grant turns toward him. Those emails directed proper allocation. Then why describe plant repairs as discretionary root spending? I ask. Because operations benefited. Did operations benefit from your private suite? Daniel closes the offer packet. We can pause while the seller resolves its internal governance. Mom looks at him. Before you do, explain my son's closing bonus. Grant's chair creaks. Daniel glances at Serena. Management retention arrangements are common. Was it paid by North Star or Keene Linen? Charlotte asks. Keene Linen at closing, Tessa says, based on sale price. Mom turns to Grant. You had the company paying you to persuade me. I negotiated compensation for 18 months of integration work. The closing bonus isn't for integration. His control finally slips. I spent 3 years keeping this company out of default, while both of you treated every expense like a test of character. Yes, I negotiated protection for myself. Everyone else in this room gets paid for a transaction. I look at him and see the part that is true. He did carry the bank calls. He did make himself indispensable to a future he was secretly designing. Fear and ambition grew around each other until even he could not tell them apart. You could have brought us the real numbers, I say, and watched you reject reality because Luis knew a tire vendor? No, you would have watched us argue with you. That is not governance. Neither is humiliation. He looks at the orange tag. You think that piece of paper makes you honest? No, the records underneath it do. Daniel stands. North Star is withdrawing the offer. If the financials are restated and ownership reaches a unified position, we may reconsider. Serena gathers the copies of their proposal. Neither of them looks at Grant. When the door closes behind them, the room feels larger and more dangerous. Charlotte removes her glasses. An offer withdrawal does not solve your liquidity problem. We have an alternative, I say. Our plan takes 40 minutes. Tessa presents corrected margins. I explain the phased washer replacement, vendor authority matrix, contract increases, reduced weekend shift, and the Mercy extension under discussion. The plan includes a minority investment from a regional industrial fund that has issued a conditional letter, not a check. They require corrected financials, independent financial oversight, and no distributions for 2 years. Charlotte attacks everything. The hospital extension is unsigned. Our price increases may lose clients. The equipment vendor can change terms after Friday. West plant productivity remains weak. Grant says nothing until she reaches the debt coverage projection. The chemical savings are too conservative, he says. Everyone looks at him. He points to the page. If both plants standardize detergent contracts, they save another $180,000. The vendor offered it last quarter. You rejected the contract, I say, because they wanted a 5-year term. If you're keeping East open, take it. Charlotte writes the number down. It does not redeem him. It makes the room sadder. By noon, the bank agrees to maintain the credit line for 90 days, while the minority investment and equipment lease close. The conditions are severe: weekly cash reporting, corrected statements, an outside restructuring controller, and Grant's immediate removal from financial authority. Mom signs the term sheet. Grant places his silver pen beside her hand, but she uses her own. In the hallway, he waits for me by the elevators. They'll make you cut more, he says. Probably. Mercy will use the extension to squeeze price. I know. You might lose East anyway. I know that too. The elevator arrives. He doesn't enter. You always got to be the good one, he says. I hold the door. You were trying to save the company, Grant. You just decided the rest of us didn't deserve the truth. He looks past me toward the covered bridge photograph. Mom will offer you my job. I don't want your job. You want more authority than I had. I want mine written down. The doors close between us. The minority investment takes 11 weeks, 3 revised term sheets, and a price increase that costs us Breckman. Mercy signs for 3 years, not 5. The East Plant weekend shift ends. Some temporary workers leave before we can place them elsewhere. Every Friday, an outside controller reviews allocations with Tessa, who hates his formatting and admits his questions are useful. Grant resigns. The closing bonus disappears with the North Star deal, and Mom refuses to create a substitute. He takes a financial planning role with a manufacturing company 2 counties away. At Sunday dinner, his chair remains empty. No one pretends not to notice. Mom offers me Chief Operating Officer in a 2-page letter. I return it with 11 pages of authority, reporting lines, emergency purchase limits, and review procedures. She signs all 11. Months later, I stand beside Line 2 while Luis scans a hospital linen cart. The screen flashes red. He reaches for an orange shortage tag. We count the bundles. He finds one folded beneath the cart liner, scans it, and the display turns green. "Complete," he says. He leaves the tag on its hook. In my office, the original tag still hangs from the hotel Folio, its string worn soft where Grant and I once pulled the paper between us. I untie it, carry it back to the dock, and slip it into the completed load envelope. Luis seals the envelope and hands it to the driver. The cart rolls onto the truck with every bundle counted.